I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Peters Township Planning Commission, April 9th, 2026. Mark, may I have a roll call, please?
Sure. Ms. Hunter Bailey?
Here.
Mr. Wiley?
Here.
Mr. Magrino?
Here.
Mr. Salepis?
Here.
Ms. Corbel?
Here.
Thank you.
First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from March 12th, 2026. Any comments on the minutes?
No questions. I'd like to make a motion to accept those minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any public comments on items that are not on the agenda? Yes, sir. Please come up, state your name and your address.
My name is Carson Kramer. I'm from 212 Abbey Brook Lane. The reason I'm stopping by today is because I've developed an interest in planning and just wanted to come and introduce myself. I work for Representative Gatos, the State House, and I've seen a couple different municipal meetings, and I just wanted to come to my own. So yeah, nice to meet you all, and thank you for what you do for the community.
Thank you, Carson.
Welcome. Welcome.
Any other public comments on items not on the agenda? And as there is no old business, we'll move on to new business. First being the Turkeyfoot Road development. Mark?
Yes, what you have before you is a preliminary plan, preliminary subdivision land development plan for the Turkeyfoot Road development. It's actually on a 30-acre parcel, but we're going to discuss 13 acres of that, which is proposed for development. The use of the site is, it is entirely agricultural. The zoning of the property is low-density residential. Surrounding the site, most of the property in Peters Township is zoned low-density residential, and then when you move into Union Township, which is represented by the orange line here, that's where you see some commercial and rural development zoning districts. And similarly, the surrounding uses are agricultural and single-family residential. And just to orient everyone here, which I should have done first, this is the parcel in question that we're talking about. It does extend across Turkeyfoot Road here, but we're going to primarily focus on this 13-acre tract right there. And also this is McClellan Road, and this is Turkeyfoot Road here.
And just so we're clear, Mark, is there a subdivision included that would subdivide this portion?
Yes,
from the other?
that is part of the subdivision plan. You'll actually see that. That'll be subdivided off. There's a subdivision line right in here. When the surveyor is here, I can explain that a little more.
Understood.
Taking a look at the parcel itself, it does have some moderate slopes. Basically, the high point is down here at the southern tip, and it slopes down to Turkeyfoot Road. There is a stream located along Turkeyfoot Road here. A couple things to note, there in dashed yellow lines here. This actually represents a dual pipe transmission line for, I'm assuming, gas of some sort. And there's also an overhead electrical transmission line, which they are proposing to move as part of this plan. All other utilities are present, and sanitary sewer is located at the bottom of the hill along Turkeyfoot Road. In terms of the development itself, again, this is for the 13 acres just south of Turkeyfoot Road. McClellan Road is right here. They're proposing 15 single-family lots, including a new public street. That public street has yet to be named, but it is located in this location here and would provide access to 11 single-family home lots. And then there's also 4 lots along McClellan Road that would access McClellan Road directly. The lot sizes range anywhere from a little over ½ acre to 1.72 acre. Setbacks are your standard low-density residential setbacks of 50 feet in the front, 15 on the side, and 40 feet in the rear. The overall density for this site would be 1.13 units per acre. And I'll also point out there's a proposed buffer yard located where the development adjoins the Trax Farm.
How big is that buffer?
It's 25 feet in width. Some other additional points about the proposal. Stormwater is to be handled on the low side of the site in 2 ponds located in this area here, as well as at the intersection of Turkeyfoot and McClellan. There are a couple of easements proposed in the rear yards to also handle drainage from the homes itself to that stormwater ponds located at the south side or the north side of the site there. Open space is required for this site. 1.05 acres is required based on a calculation of 0.07 acres per lot. However, the property owner is requesting to provide a fee in lieu of providing the actual open space land. And I noted earlier that the access is off of the new road for 11 lots, as well as 4 lots will be accessing McClellan Road. One other thing that we'll probably need to discuss tonight will be the interconnection. The township has a policy, and it's a policy, not a regulation, but it's a policy that developments have more than one way in and out, and that they connect to adjoining properties. Typically what that means is, in the case of something like this, the cul-de-sac would be extended to the property line. I believe the applicant will be asking to not have to provide that connection. In terms of traffic impact, TPD has reviewed this and has calculated the traffic impact fee to be $2,153.33 and change per lot. And they also noted some issues related to site distance. So in terms of looking at the development itself, many of the comments have been addressed. We've actually gone through 2 rounds of this. You see there's a second round review letter that Peters Township staff has. Just today we got a letter from LSSE, who also did a second round of reviews. Many of these comments that weren't addressed as part of those review letters are ones that would be addressed moving into the final plan stage. Again, this is a preliminary plan. In order to go any further with development, they would still need to do a final plan and ask for our approval on that as well. But some items that are still outstanding that should be discussed as part of the preliminary plan approval are, as I noted earlier, appropriate distance, site distance for driveways on McClellan Road, as well as the Turkeyfoot Road and the new road intersection. I know the applicant has just recently submitted items to us. We have provided that to TPD. As of today, with my speaking with Mr. Mudry, there's still some issues that he would like to work out with the applicant prior to giving his approval of the plan. Also in relation to the easements, I do have some questions about who's going to maintain those easements in the rear yards, as well as the size of the easements. Typically easements, if the township's going to maintain them or the HOA is going to maintain them, they're 15-foot width requirement or even 20-foot in width. The question is who is going to maintain them. Is there going to be an HOA?
That's what
I guess.
I believe so, yeah. I mean, there'll be an HOA for, I think, for the monument sign, and then I think for stormwater for the private yard
Okay.
drains, so.
That may end up addressing that comment. And again, lastly, the main point that needs to be discussed is whether or not we need a point of ingress or egress, an additional point of ingress and egress, I should say, and that would be a connection to the adjoining property. So with that, and since we're waiting on reviews and a chance to actually review LSSE's review, we're not making a recommendation on the plan tonight. However, based upon the applicant's responses tonight, if you do feel they are acceptable, you could move forward, but you would have to do so making a recommendation of approval that all 3 of these letters be addressed, all the outstanding comments in those.
Where are we on time?
The clock just started today.
Okay, so we have plenty of
Yeah,
time.
we have time, yes.
And Mark, are there any formal modifications or waivers being requested?
I do not believe so. Primarily, it's not even a modification because it's based on a policy, but it's the interconnection is the primary discussion point.
The fee in lieu is not a modification or waiver? That's something.
It is something that we can accept, the Township Council.
Can we choose to not accept it?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
So would it be, to the extent we were moving forward, it would be, we would make a recommendation as far as to the extent allowable, whether we recommend approval or rejection of the fee in lieu,
Correct.
right? And is that fee in lieu, where would I look for that if I want to just read
So
something?
the fee in lieu, it needs to be calculated still. It's based on the fair market value
Oh,
of
I'm
the
sorry.
land.
My bad question. As far as the requirements, regulations, how it's worded,
Oh.
whether we can reject it or whether we can,
That is in section 385-40. Don't quote me on the last part.
3.5?
385-40. The section's literally called open space, and it's
Okay.
at that very end of that section.
Can you give me like 2 seconds again on what is in here versus what would be required, would the fee in lieu not be being requested? What is he asking for that's lesser, that's more?
He's asking to not have to provide the 1.05 acres of land in
Okay,
open space.
so to have none,
Correct.
okay. So he's looking for waivers, whether it would be no open space at all.
It's not necessarily looking for a waiver, you have an option.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
either
okay.
provide the open space or you provide a fee in lieu.
And the buffer is not included in the open
Correct.
space?
The buffer is not included. In fact, it's going to be located in people's rear yards.
Okay. So they'll own that, but they won't be allowed to utilize it?
Correct.
And will they be allowed to mow it or maintain it or put chemicals on it?
They can certainly mow it,
Okay.
and I would say same thing with the chemicals. The big thing would be keeping the trees and the shrubbery
And-
alive.
And Mark, is that buffer required?
Yeah, we just.
It is
asked that,
required,
too.
yes.
It is required, so the request is to place a buffer yard on private property. It's gonna be very difficult to enforce. I think traditionally we've had that challenge.
Yes, that is a challenge, and a great example is Tuscany 1. There's buffer yards in people's rear yards.
And has that been impacted by those folks taking down trees, putting in sheds, what have you?
I know we get requests.
Yeah.
And those requests we deny. Now, if they do it on their own, we won't know until someone lets us know that it's.
There's not a tree, I don't need a permit to cut down a single tree, do I, in Peters Township?
No, there is not. So that's
Okay.
why we wouldn't necessarily know about it.
Understood.
Why is the reason for the buffer again? Aren't both low density on either side?
The
of
buffer is because you're having a development adjoining a agricultural use. So we require a buffer between single-family homes and farms.
And the
You
the
think people
question,
wanna look at the farm?
the question about connecting a road to the property boundary line, in this case, it would be a different township.
It would be.
Would that still be a necessity if it's somebody else, another township? I can see it.
Our ordinance
I'm-
actually
I'm-
doesn't, or our policy doesn't address that when it's another
Yeah.
township. We do have that in a couple of instances. The most current one I can think of is just down off of Sugar Camp there, and I can't think of the name of the development, Orchard Highlands. It's not Orchard Highlands, it's Orchard Hills, I believe it is. They actually have a road that stubs out against Union Township as well. Now, what I'll say is in this area where this cul-de-sac could potentially come out to Union Township boundary, it is zoned rural development, which is essentially a agricultural zone.
And
So
I'm
theoretically not a development zone.
Okay. I'm not inferring that I am against it, I just was curious about the being a different township, if that still was a resolution that was,
It's not really addressed
Yeah.
in there.
Is that a full road, like paved and everything, or does it just have to be an exit way? Meaning, does it have to be paved, does it have to be
The
a
ordinance
certain
doesn't
width?
address it, but it implies it's a full additional entrance and exit. Yeah, entrance and exit out of the development.
And if we did require that, what would that require the developer to go out and do
In
in
this case,
addition to what's already
It
been
would be
done?
just to bring that to to the adjoining parcel so that that connection could be made and therefore have a second means of ingress and egress.
And then would the developer have to then go to Union Township and make a request there as well?
Only if they were developing that side of the line.
Only if developing that side. So it goes all the way there, we don't have to do anything with it?
Correct.
So it's not a safety issue, then? It's not about fire trucks or,
Well, ultimately,
Things-
that's the idea, but
The
we
idea,
can't
right.
force them to necessarily
we
put
can
the.
only do our part, which
Right.
is by pushing it to there.
Right.
I
It's
see.
very similar to how we do with commercial development, where we require connections to adjoining
Yeah, right,
parcels.
right.
But
So then on the other side of that, though, if they would decide to develop in Union Township, by not requiring it to go all the way to the property line, then if there's an additional development on the other side, you do have two separate, maybe you have them coming this close to each other, but there's no connection.
Correct.
Okay.
it would eliminate one of the lots.
It would, yes.
I'm sorry, did you ask, is Union Township have an ordinance or a,
I don't know if they have an ordinance that requires that.
okay,
But what we oftentimes see is you see cul-de-sac on one side of the property line, a cul-de-sac on the other, and yes, there's lots all the way around it, but it looks like they could actually connect if they would have thought ahead when those two sides developed.
Do we have an
Having
issue
two
with
points of egress and ingress.
Yeah.
Right.
do we have an issue with cul-de-sac length here?
It's 560 feet, so we're good on the length.
What's the maximum in Peters Township?
600.
600? So if it does extend, all right.
In
Okay.
the township, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Martha, just for my own knowledge, when you do extend a road to the property line, do you have to make a temporary cul-de-sac? So
Yes.
fire trucks, okay.
Temporary cul-de-sac.
Any other commissioner questions before we hear from the applicant?
I do.
Yep.
So going back to the open space, can you pull, yeah, you did, thank you. So as I'm looking at this, we're talking about buffers on, looks like the south and then the north of the two,
Yes,
the
right
two
on
different developments,
this
right?
line here,
Mhm.
and then this line as well. And I
Okay.
believe also on this line. So basically, anywhere where it's not adjoining a street.
Okay, and so when, and again, I haven't seen this, but when people purchase those lots, it's somewhere in their deed, it's somewhere that they're told that they own this, and I assume they're paying taxes on it, but they are not allowed to develop it or utilize it from a standpoint of a structural, take down trees,
Correct.
anything like that, that's what they're
Correct.
told.
That's supposed to be in their deed, yes.
That's supposed to be in their deed. And then is the 1.7 acres that would be normally required?
1.05.
1.05, I'm sorry, that would be over the two areas, or could it be split up however the developer wanted to between these two, well, I'm calling two different developments, even though I know we're treating them as the
It'd be
same.
up to them to determine what would be the best positioning for,
But they could put 0.5 in, on the bottom four and 0.5 in the top
Sure.
11, they could move it around however they wanted.
Sure.
And the way our ordinance work, that one acre does not have to be consolidated, it can be here and there, or does it have to be is there a certain size that it has to be to constitute an open space?
I would have to go back to the ordinance, because there are certain requirements. We don't typically like anything smaller than an acre. Really
Right.
don't like anything smaller than 5 acres. Just because it's, given our topography, it's hard really to do anything with the land.
Right,
But yeah, I'd have to actually look at the ordinance to see what it
Okay.
would say, if that's something that we really want to pursue.
okay, thank you.
I had one other question as well. So I see on here for the setback, it says that it's a rear setback of 40 feet. However, in the correspondence from April 9th that we have, it says the proposed development setback, the minimum rear setback is 15 feet for the proposed.
No, it's 40.
But the
That doesn't-
required
doesn't
is
type out.
40.
Yeah, it's 40.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure of
Yep.
that. Okay.
All right, sir,
Hi.
your name?
My name's Alberto Harkeen from Gateway Engineers. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Burning Tree LLC. Keith Higgins is the surveyor of record for the project. So the two items we were talking about, and I'll give you guys, I know my eyes are kind of getting harder to see across the room and stuff, but these are the existing map and then the proposed map, just to easier to see.
Go ahead, please.
And regarding the question you had about the buffer, I see that she has the site plan. If you look at the site plan sheet, I can show you how, we just showed up preliminarily. We'll do a final landscape plan. But you can see that little example that's right here. That example right there is how dense this buffer is. It has evergreens and then 2 rows of low shrubs, and that's gonna start from here and wrap all the way around the whole property.
Mark, could you pull up the site plan just so that we
Yeah,
can
the
ensure
site
the
plan.
audience and our folks at home can see what we're looking at?
Yeah, so you can see that buffer.
Which page is it? Oh,
Keep
that's
going.
the,
Yeah, to my plans, one more page, yeah, right there. So you can see, I mean, I just, right now for preliminary, I called out what your buffer was.
Oh.
But this is gonna start from the side yard setback here and go all the way around. So that's, you know, within that little area of 100 feet there, I mean, you can see how many trees we have, and that's showing the trees at mature size. So that buffer is gonna screen the entire farm from the residential development. And we'll do a final landscape plan that shows that, we wanted to show at least that we're acknowledging that buffer, that we do have to have that.
Okay.
And that's gonna be hundreds of trees and shrubs around the property from the farm, you know. And that's something that will be as part of the subdivision plan, as part of their deed, as part of the recorded plan. So that will be for them to know that. The other item was regarding the, continuing the cul-de-sac, as you pointed out. You know, the way this is kind of laid out right now, we have a lot of topography through here. It looks like, you know, it's a nice gentle farm, but when you start doing the actual grading for lots, and the lots are, you have a 50-foot front yard, you have the house, you have the backyards, you start getting this big flat area to develop your site. So if you look over here, this right here is a big cut slope. We're cutting like 40 feet of the hill, because it goes from Turkeyfoot up to McClellan. So on this side here, for all these houses, they're gonna have about a 30 to 40 foot cut area. And then down on the low side, we're gonna have a little bit of fill. If we were to try to extend this road this way, now we're pushing this cut off of our property, one. We would be losing lots, two. And then also, by doing that, by trying to straighten this road out, this pipeline that's through here, we're not touching it. We're not cutting over it, we're not filling over it, we're honoring the 60-foot right-of-way that's there. We don't want, there's two big gas lines there, we don't want to be touching that. And as it is right now, this site here, it balances together. So when I go to build this road and to build these lots, there's gonna be a lot of extra dirt. That extra dirt is gonna be brought, and they're gonna fill in here for these roads, for these houses. Because the topography goes down this way. So these houses are all in fill. Dirt that I cut out of here, I'm gonna bring over here. So this site's balanced the way it's laid out.
So the houses that are on the bottom
Yep.
of the top area, the up,
The 11, but that's.
the 11, those houses.
Yeah.
If I were standing on the roof of one of those houses, I would probably still be looking into the hillside. I wouldn't even see the
Yes.
houses on the McClellan Road.
Exactly, I mean, you can see, you got 12 feet, you got 10, 20, 30, like 36 feet of cut, and you'd think these houses under, 35 feet tall. And then on top of that, McClellan Road, these houses have, this is all fill, so they're gonna be 15 feet higher in the air too.
But and the point if it's that steep, the water runoff from those 4 lots would have to go towards the 11.
They won't, because the way we have it, if you look at my utility plan, and this is still preliminary, but the way we do these projects now, I mean, we over-design them with stormwater and utilities. And you can see how, if you go to my utility plan that I provided, you can see and this is preliminary, but you can see how the house, this big black line you see here.
Would you mind, we're gonna show it up here so the entire audience can see what we're talking
So if
about.
you look at these plans, the way we do these now, stormwater is the biggest thing, they don't want waters in their yards. So these houses here, they have a walkout basement, so you're gonna have first level, and then you're gonna have a basement that's a level lower. On the bottom of that fill slope, this is all fill, we have a yard drain, and every house will have a drain at the end, at the corner of their lot, where they can tie their roof collector right into there. So all this water from here, caught here, brought to this pond. There'll be natural runoff from the pipeline that comes over, but then when it gets over the hill, we have this big snake of storm line. Same thing, and the houses, the yards will pitch away to that low point, the hill will pitch that. So it's gonna be almost like a channel or, the drainage ditch along the whole backyard. But back in the day, you would have just a drainage ditch and like one yard drain. Now we put them every lot, every 2 lots. And we size all these based on the area, the amount of impervious in the house. And then the roofs, the important thing is the roofs, those also go into that system. So all the cut side we're gonna get right here, bring it into here. Same thing on this fill side here with the low side, yard drain all the way through and into the pond. So you're gonna have very little water traveling a long distance before we catch it.
So when you, for all those grates, will they be like raised trash, have trash receptacles?
Those will just be flush yard
They'll
drains,
be
they're
flush?
2x2 drains.
And who will maintain those, the HOA?
Well, so that's the one thing is, regarding the easements, we show 10-foot easements back here, just to allow for a pool, a deck, patio, more backyard amenities. If we start putting 20-foot easements, now you're left with, you have people putting stuff over the easement, or people can't put stuff in the easement, or they're not able to build a big deck or a pool. So we try to do private 10-foot storm easements in the back. Once we get into the right-of-way in the road, this is all public. The pipes coming through here are the big easements, stuff here. This all right here is a big easement, so that can be maintained by the township. But as far as in people's backyards, we don't want to have to put a 30-foot easement back there, because then their backyard is useless. And that's kind of like the standard practice with all the builders, is to do a 10-foot private in the back.
A few questions there. So you just mentioned, and I want to take a step back, but you just mentioned that the stormwater facilities will be in an easement and be accessible to the township or the HOA. But I do note that those stormwater facilities, per your site plan, do reside on lots 1, 2, 3, is that correct, and 12?
Yeah, there'll be a stormwater management and access easement within those lots.
So, but it's owned and in the acreage of those individual lots?
Correct.
Okay.
And there's access, if you go back, you look at my render, you can see the little paths, how you have an access off of the road and off of McClellan Road.
You also identified the large cut that's behind lots 6, 7, 8?
Yep.
You said it was about 40-foot cut?
Yep, all this right here.
Do we have a geotechnical report? I noticed that was a comment from Lennon Smith, that we do not yet have a geotechnical report. That seems to be a pretty significant earthwork operation and planning development, and that's a requirement of our preliminary plans.
We have at
application.
times waived that, but if that's something that you think is necessary,
It's a pretty big cut.
It also, I think, talked about, in terms not necessarily a geotech report, but infiltration tests, which is important to the planning of the
Yeah.
stormwater management. Do we have infiltration tests yet?
We do that stuff at final. I mean, whenever we have a plan that's kind of locked down and the board, the board and the planning commission approve, we get to final, that's when the developers start spending $50,000 on geotech, $40,000, you know what I mean? Instead of doing that now and then everything changes and we're back to the drawing board, we come through, we show the stormwater, we don't even assume infiltration when we do our preliminary stormwater, and we make it work that way. Then we come back and actually get infiltration, we make the numbers better.
So these are MRC facilities planned?
Right now, we're showing them as infiltration, but
You said you don't, just said you don't
Yeah.
plan on infiltration.
we show them as, I think we're assuming like a half an inch per hour, and if we have to change to MRC, we'll change it to MRC. But right now, like, we don't spend all that money up front at preliminary level, just because things can change, you know?
What I'm seeing here is a lot of constraints with your gas line, with the density you're proposing, and we have some significant cuts, some significant stormwater facilities, and you mentioned that not wanting to change it after the fact that information comes back in. Do you think that there's gonna potential for a substantial change?
None, hopefully not, no. But again, it's the developer, you know, they do what they can up front. Once we get the preliminary approval, we'll do all the final engineering, final stormwater, final geotech. And that, you know, again, that's standard practice.
And we've waived preliminary,
Yeah,
we've
I-
waived geotechnical investigations for preliminary.
And I
I'm
s-
just aware they get so much more difficult now with the infiltration testing, finding infiltration, MRC, satisfying the DEP, et
So
cetera.
I had talked with Mark Semitis about this site for the geotech,
Uh-huh.
and he felt comfortable with waiving at least the geotech. Now, I didn't talk to him about the infiltration at all.
Waiving it completely or just waiving it through preliminary?
Through preliminary.
For preliminary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, you know, it's a 13-acre site. It's not a huge site,
I understand.
so.
I'll also point out LSSE is here. Mr. Wingrove can also provide some insight into that.
Sean, what's your opinion of stormwater management planning without infiltration at our current climate in Pennsylvania?
So we know there'll be, DEP comments, Conservation District comments when we get to the time. The report does assume, I just pulled it open, I think 1.5 inches per hour, which is a decent infiltration rate, actually. I would hate to see this thing grow dramatically in final and, lots change, that kind of thing, and the township's taking a different picture here. I guess the risk there from the applicant's perspective is if lots change, you're probably back at preliminary again.
Yeah,
to
if
do
we're
preliminary
changing lots, we
approval.
would, yeah, yep.
So if you change lots based upon your infiltration test, you want to come back for a preliminary plan?
We would come back, if I lose a lot, we would come back, yeah. I mean, we're
Lose a
not gonna
lot.
be gaining a lot. I mean, if we're losing a lot, do I have to come back? I mean, we're not adding more to the plan. It's up to you guys. I mean,
Depends on the severity of
yeah.
what
I
we
mean,
change.
if we're losing lots, typically don't come back to a board and say we lost a lot. But if
Sure.
I'm adding lots, then I typically.
If you're starting to change where the roads
Yeah,
are,
yeah, if I'm moving
infrastructure is,
stuff,
then
obviously, yeah.
Any more questions on grading or stormwater relative to this preliminary plan? Because I have a few more if there's no other commissioner comments on grading or stormwater. Site distance issues, I believe that was along lots, I'll call them on the southern boundary of
along
correct?
McClellan Road.
McClellan Road. Could you elaborate on what our concern, or what TPD's concern is and how that may be addressed during final. I just don't know that there's a
I believe
solution.
it's the placement of where the lots are on, or, I'm sorry, where the driveway is on each lot, and determining to make sure that each lot has the proper visibility looking up and down the street. There's a certain way that they have in terms of calculating it, and it's also based on the speeds that are measured there.
Right.
Which I believe that information was just provided to Mr. Mudry yesterday. Like I said, I had a conversation with him today. He didn't necessarily have concerns, but he wanted to see some additional calculations done based on, you know, some of the information that he has. And so his suggestion was to actually have the engineer, the applicant's engineer, and sit down with Mr. Mudry and figure out what it is that he's looking for.
Yeah, so our traffic engineer, Kyle Brown, when we did this, originally when I had worked with this design with and met with the township, I had a driver right here, and we sent people out there and we measured the posted speed limit of 25, and we met the distances. Mr. Mudry came back with his review and said he wanted to post it, but he wanted me to go out there and count cars and their speeds and put what the 85th percentile was. So down this road here, the speed is actually 36. People are going 36 down that road, so you need more sight distance.
Sure.
So this driver right here failed. So we moved it down to here, and we satisfied the distance going that way. These other ones here are fine. And then over here, for the main entrance, he asked for the same thing. People are actually going 42 down this road.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to
I'm
utilize
sorry.
this board if you can.
Yeah, so this main new road, public, there's gonna be a public road. That one here, we did the posted speed, plus we did the actual 85th percentile. And it was 42 miles an hour when people were going down this road. But again, we have straight road. This one, no problem, it passes. This one right here, I used to have a driveway over here, because I want to put the driveway on the high side of the house, so they come in on grade. When you get the 36 mile an hour, it failed. So we moved that driveway to here. Now you have all this distance to the crest, which exceeds what's required for the 85th percentile.
What's the topography of McClellan? Is it go uphill from Turkeyfoot?
McClellan everything goes down that way.
But
The
if
road's
I'm,
going this way.
Does it go
So-
downhill?
Yep, downhill. There's a high point right here, and that's why this driveway didn't pass the actual measured speed. So I can tell you, I'll have the exhibit here so for that one plan, for that one driveway, the sight distance, the measured sight distance, looking right was 502, the posted is 140, and then the 85th percentile, you need 239 feet. Looking left to the high point, we measured 287, the posted, which we put 125, is 153 feet. And if the 85th percentile is 279. So that one just passed by 8 feet. And that's the information we gave Mr. Mudry, all the driveways, all the distances, the speeds. We gave him the data that we collected.
And you just have not received an official response from him, so we
Correct.
don't have his
And he
responsive commentary to what he requested.
Correct.
Okay.
And he wanted to sit down and
Yeah,
get
we're
some
gonna have Kyle and him talk.
questions
Kyle
about
and
some of
him.
the data, that's
Yep.
it.
Okay, we just don't have that yet for
Right.
us
Yep.
to consider or to hear.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, according to the client, these are gonna be houses over $1 million for a house.
What is the amount of the fee in lieu for the open space? And what do we do with that?
What do we do with it? We have to
Yeah.
use it for parkland. So there's actually requirements in the municipality's planning code, as well as other state regulations. It says that you have to take that money, set it aside, and it can only be used for certain park-related, recreation-related activities.
I think he says a little over 2,100 per,
That's the
That's
traffic
a
impact.
that's the traffic
Yeah.
impact. I'm sorry, thank you.
And
Yes.
this will be much higher than that. I'm not sure what it'll be.
Do we have a
It's
formal
based-
calculation for it, or how does that derive?
It's based on, we have an appraiser, look
Okay.
at what the typical lot is in Peters Township and come up with a per acre value.
Does the developer give a different opinion on that, or is it what it is, it is?
It's what it is, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for the size of the project, trying to put a little park or something in here, I mean, it's topography steep, you got.
That side.
You got the street, sorry. You have the stream coming, through here the whole way. We're gonna have stream crossing permits for our road, but you got a stream through here, you got steep topography, I mean, you got a pipeline through here. It just didn't make sense to try to just have an acre, a little pocket, kind of part for this kind of development. So we went ahead and just, deferred to the payment in lieu of. But as far as the plan, I mean, we're not asking for any variances, any modifications. We meet your ordinance.
I would love some clarity on open space fee in lieu, and whether that's a modification waiver. I understand it's not, or how that works. Is in a little bit of a gray area. We can accept it, or can we not accept it? Also, in terms of the interconnection policy, what level of enforcement we have. Have you?
I think that's what I asked as well.
Yeah. So I think those two are pretty significant to me.
And my question on the open space question as well is, does it all have to be an acre plopped somewhere, or can it be spread out? Can that acre requirement be divvied up,
Right.
or?
Has to
does
be
it have to
usable,
always
doesn't
be
it?
there?
Has to be usable, right?
Well,
Bob?
Yeah, and I gotta figure out what the regulations
usable
are when,
means.
to define what usable is.
Yeah, I can't remember if it had anything about it had to be under a certain slope, or, you know what I
Right.
mean? Access to it, frontage. I'd have to look back at it.
And not lastly, but the buffer yard, we do permit that on private property so long as it's in an easement? There's no prohibition
Correct.
against that?
Correct.
Okay.
My other question, just, and then again, for the connector, I'd like to know what the, what the fire department, what their opinions are on it. And then as far as, it'd be nice to see what would change with extending that.
That would require at least a modification based upon the length of the cul-de-sac, I believe.
A modification for the developer, not
Correct.
For the length of it, yeah.
modification, but they would have to do a redesign.
They would, yes, they would definitely have to do a redesign, because you probably would be splitting, I don't even know what lots those are there. But you'd be extending a right-of-way to the property line.
Right. But it would have to probably pull
Yeah,
some of this
if
apart,
you can,
right?
if you can
Yeah.
visualize, I mean, it would be, these are kind of pie-shaped lots that are kind of narrow at the front, but if you take this right away and come like this, you're losing one or two lots for that. And that may never be extended. I mean, it's different school district, different town.
We just had a lot of things that we thought were never going to be developed, and they were. So that's, my concern is the safety concern, where you only have one
Right.
way in and one way out, and you just talked about there being $1 million homes on here. So you're talking about $1 million homes, and there's only one way in, one way out.
Yeah,
And we
That's my
can also
concern.
talk to the fire chief, like you had
Yes.
suggested, to see what his opinion is of these. I know firefighters don't like really excessively long cul-de-sacs.
Right.
But this isn't necessarily excessively long.
Right.
We do have some developments like this in Peter, where it's literally just a cul-de-sac about 500 or 600 feet in length, and that's all it is.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
and I'm not saying one way or the
other
other,
municip-
there's just a lot of questions that I have before I'd be willing to give an opinion, or to want to vote one way or the other on it. And I'd like to hear from Mr. Mudry, I'd like to hear from the fire department, I'd like to know a little more about the open space, the fee in lieu requirements.
The other municipalities, like after you have 40 to 50 lots, they'll require that secondary access, and we have 11 lots here.
Mhm.
Anything else before I accept audience comments on the plan? Thank you. Appreciate it. Any?
It is nicely laid out, so I'm not saying it's not, I just have some questions.
Any audience comments on this plan? Sir, please come up, state your name and your address.
Dan Weaver, Brookwood Road. I would think that the intersection of Sugar Camp and Turkeyfoot that is actually in Union Township, as opposed to being in Peters. And if it's in Peters, I mean, I think we should do a traffic study at that intersection, especially during Fall Festival time.
I'm not aware.
Turkeyfoot and McClellan.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
said
we're Sugar,
Brookwood.
Oh, you said
we're Sugar Camp, yeah, down at the,
Sugar Camp is up roughly, probably right about
Up
there,
there,
just off the
yes.
screen.
yes, it intersects into, it's not on that site plan. but
It's a rough intersection for a site.
yeah,
distance.
it's a very rough intersection.
Although I don't disagree with you, I think that the requirement for a TIS, it has to meet certain thresholds in our township. And this likely does not meet that threshold.
Okay.
We can confirm that, but I did see that noted in TPD's comments, if I recall.
Yes, it's, the threshold is 75 trips in a peak hour. This is probably,
12.
it was 15, so it's probably about 16 trips in a peak hour.
It might be a little higher than that. But and then the second question would be sewage treatment. Does that actually flow to Union Township, or will that pump over the hill to the Peters Township facility?
This
At
will
Valley
be
Brook.
serviced by Peters Creek Sanitary Authority.
Okay.
I believe in this instance, it does flow not towards Union, but, sorry, I think I just hit you.
Yeah, you're fine.
But I think it flows down towards into Peters, but it eventually all ends up with the Peters Creek system, which then ends up at the Clarington plant.
Okay.
And that looks like they will be extending a facility, a mainline extension along Turkeyfoot to accommodate that.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience? Hearing none. Any other commissioner discussion items before I ask for a motion?
Is it too many moving parts and unanswered questions
I would agree.
to table this and let it move further into analysis?
I think there's a lot of questions.
It's
Yeah.
it's either table it or not recommending it at this time.
Yeah.
My only two.
Give them some time to question.
I think our questions, there's questions both on the township side as well as there's yet to be analyzed data that came back as a part of the design review that is critical to public safety, including traffic. I'd like for that to be settled, even if we were to kind of surmise potential questions of the township. I think that traffic data is important. That will also give us time to review some of those township items.
I mean, staff hasn't made
And-
intentionally did not make a recommendation at this point, so I think that speaks
If we were to
volumes.
we're recommending to council, we're not approving it tonight.
Correct.
So I think just to move the ball down the court, there's still so many questions that need answered. So I think a table would be more appropriate. So having said that, I make a motion that we table the Turkeyfoot preliminary subdivision plan as outlined in staff's memo dated April 9th.
Have a motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to our second item, Brookwood Place, Amendment Number 8.
Okay. Just give me 1 second to get set back up here. Okay. This is a final plan for a subdivision. It's actually part of an existing development, and it's a subdivision proposed in the Brookwood Place Townhome Development, which is a 38-unit development. It has a preliminary approval, and it also has 7 phases of final approval here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all along the court there. This is the final section, and all they're doing is taking the existing townhome building and subdividing it into individual units that can then be sold. We're talking about the locations being 402 to 410 Magnolia Drive, which is, again, right, this is Magnolia Drive. This is Brookwood and Ross Creek, or Ross Place. Ross is right here, that intersection. The zoning on the site is mixed residential overlay. Surrounding uses are townhomes and single-family homes. Moving on here. So really what we're talking about here, this is just the plan itself. It's taking that townhome building and subdividing into 5 individual units. Access to those units will be in the rear, as it is with the building next door. All utilities and stormwater are already provided in the development itself for the previous phases, and will just be extended to this site. With that said, during the review, there's no outstanding comments, and staff is recommending that PC recommend the approval of this plan to council.
Has there been any changes since the preliminary approval at this
No.
point? When was this done? How many years ago now?
2021, maybe?
Before your time, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
it was definitely before my time.
And this is the last in the series of approvals that have all
Correct.
been
This is the last 5.
consistent and contiguous throughout this project.
Correct.
It'll be built out then, in other words?
Yes. This will be the last time you have to see it.
There aren't any, there are, in that pic, go back one more, on the left, those are like patio homes, aren't they?
Up in here are patio homes. These are single-family homes. right
No,
here.
within the box.
You mean right in here?
Yeah,
These are all townhomes as well. These are all the same thing. They're three-story townhomes, garages on the first floor.
okay.
Can you remind us, or at least tell me, why wasn't this final approval done at the last time, when other final approvals were done for the other?
They like to
townhome
do it when
units?
they know exactly where the building's gonna be. Otherwise, what they would have done is they would have done a final, and then they would have to come back with a minor plan revision.
Okay.
Wasn't there a similar plan out on Venetia Road that did it in phases?
Anderson Station.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same
same concept.
concept.
They're just trying to get the party walls right in the middle of the structure.
Correct.
In their case, they had a lot of sub-mining issues too. That was a big problem in that neck of the woods.
Yeah, I would bet back down there.
Any other commissioner comments before we take public comment? Any public comment on Brookwood Place amenity? Yes, sir. Please go up and state your name and residence again.
Weaver Daniel, Brookwood Road. The foundations and everything are already in place. They began work on that site 3 months ago. So I guess I'm curious as to why that work has gone on and the final plan hasn't been approved.
It's a good question. This is from my experience, not necessarily township codes. We'll let Mark answer, but I believe the foundations need to be in place before we can identify the exact location of that line between the units. Mark can speak to the building permit issuance, but I think that's one of the precursors to actually defining where that property line is, actually when the foundation's constructed, so that they can pinpoint it.
That's exactly what we did. We wanted to make sure that we had everything exactly where it is. So we only
Exactly
have to
where it
do
is.
this
So the
process
sewer,
once.
water, everything was installed. You know exactly where each unit's
Correct.
gonna be at that point.
Yep.
And a survey wouldn't give you the same information.
It will, but this
But
way
you
we-
wanna see a physical,
Right, right.
okay. And then my only other comment would be, if you could install a crosswalk from Magnolia over to Ross Creek. There's a lot of traffic that travels from the townhouses across Brookwood.
You want to point out where that,
Yeah.
what you're talking about?
It would be here. It would be a pedestrian crosswalk here on either side. And there's a partial sidewalk that's been installed along Brookwood. But if you had a pedestrian crosswalk, traffic on Brookwood is exceptionally fast at this point. But when you go up into Ross Creek, that's direct access to the trail system. There's a lot of people from the townhomes that are crossing there, and the site distances are okay, but you still should have a pedestrian crosswalk at this point.
Didn't
Wouldn't
we,
that be a function of the road department?
Well, I would think so, yeah.
weren't there some traffic calming, like speed bumps and
There are further,
Yeah.
in this case, up on the screen here.
towards
Absolutely.
McMurray Road?
Yeah, the
Yes.
entire Brookwood roads had traffic calming and radar signs put in, but it.
Yep.
Mark, is that something we could take back to Public Works and Traffic Department?
We could certainly do that, and you could also add that as a recommendation that council consider that.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any other audience, public comment? Hearing none, you have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that the planning commission recommends the Brookwood Place Amendment number 7 and add to, is
Number
there
8.
any, is there any,
Number 8.
where is it?
Oh, it says 7 on here.
Oh, it should say number 8, I apologize.
Okay. Number 8 with, we were going to recommend the crosswalk to add to that. Is there any other recommendations from the staff? And that would be it?
Have a motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That brings us to item C under new business, rezoning of parcels. I'm gonna let you run through that, Mark.
Yeah. I'm just going to call it the Sugar Camp and Frobe Road parcels to ease the title on that. So the proposal before you is a rezoning of 2 parcels to rezone them from mixed residential overlay, actually remove the overlay and leave them as low-density residential. The 2 parcels in question are 116 Sugar Camp, right here, and I'll go through each parcel individually. But it's, generally speaking, it's located to the west of the existing and newly built Sugarbrook development and south of Sugar Camp Road. The other proposed lot to be rezoned is what we call the Frobe Road property. It's actually part of the Pemberley Manor project, and this is proposing to rezone it again from mixed residential overlay down to low density. And just to orient everyone, this is Frobe Road here, and Sugar Camp runs right through here. The first site, 116 Sugar Camp Road, again, this is an 8-acre lot. It's currently zoned mixed residential overlay, and I'll get into what each zoning district entails. But it's zoned mixed residential overlay zoning district. The topography of the site, it's relatively flat. It does have a stream running right through the middle of it, or at least the middle of the western half here. And it also has a stream that touches the southern corner of the parcel as well. There are 3 potential access points into the site. On the eastern side, you have Piedmont Drive, which is part of Sugarbrook. This road was built to the property line intended to eventually connect to this site. There's also Marie Way, which, at least to Louisiana, is a public street. There's question as to whether or not it's a public or a private street going, to the western boundary of the property. And then the property touches directly Sugar Camp Road in the north. Surrounding uses, primarily single-family residential uses, and most of those lots are on larger lots, a half-acre or greater in size. The only exception being the, I guess this would be the eastern portion here of Sugar Camp. These lots on Vista Drive are relatively small, around 10,000 square feet in size. The zoning of the area, it is, again, mostly low-density residential with the exception of Sugarbrook, which is also mixed residential overlay. The second site is the Frobe Road site. This is a 7-acre parcel of land that's currently also zoned mixed residential overlay. It was originally part of the Pemberley Manor development that is located to the north here. This was a lot that was left over and was initially going to be intended to be an estate lot. However, that has never materialized, and so now it's just a mixed residential lot of 7 acres. It is moderately sloped, and there's a stream that originates on the property. Surrounding this site, mostly single-family homes, and most of them are on half-acre or greater, with the exception of those on Pemberley Manor here, which are much smaller. And again, similarly, the zoning is mostly low-density residential, with the exception of Pemberley Manor. So in terms of what this means, in terms of rezoning the site, I provided 2 tables here, one of permitted uses, table 1, and then table 2 is the dimensional standards. So in this table, you'll see the existing column, that's what currently we permit, and the right column is what would only be permitted if it were to be rezoned. So with that said, under the mixed residential overlay zoning district, typically, what that allows is single-family homes, townhomes, duplexes, multifamily, and a handful of other minor non-residential uses, places of worship, emergency services, daycare facilities. As a low-density residential lot, that is primarily limited to single-family detached houses. There are some other non-residential uses that are permitted by special exceptions, such as schools and churches, parks, that sort of thing, but primarily it's a single-family residential district. When we get to the dimensional standards, the mixed residential overlay allows a density of up to 6 dwelling units per acre, so that would be 6 homes or 6 townhomes per acre, 6 apartments per acre, however you want to call it. It also allows greater lot coverage, 30% versus the proposed low-density development would only permit 15%. Same thing with the density, it only permits 1.2 units per acre, much less than what would be in the existing mixed residential overlay. And it's for that reason that we are recommending that Planning Commission consider making a recommendation to council to rezone these to low-density residential so that the sites will potentially develop in a manner that's more consistent with the existing neighborhood around them.
So just in summary, what this would mean was that it would be less houses, less density than what could be allowed under a mixed residential.
Correct.
So moved.
Do we have any audience comments on this topic? One at a time. Come up, please state your name and address. The gentleman in the hat first.
Hi, Greg Long, 204 Sugar Camp Road, and I live right here, that one, and just all the stuff that went on behind me, it's over and done with, but I wish I could have changed it from the beginning, so I'm gonna be here to try and change this one, and it just doesn't need to be a bunch of houses down there, especially condos or townhouses. Place floods all the time. Always a foot or two, or Mr. Bakioki's basement is completely flooded. Access to that area by a car. This is terrible. You can't see what's coming around here, and then right here is a blinding knoll. Getting in and out of there, it's just gonna make more chaos. School buses, the average miles per hour now has gotta be in the 50s. I got an 11-year-old that gets on the bus, and literally every week, there's a car that goes through the stop sign on the bus. So, just more and more people coming on Sugar Camp. It's just time for me to stand up and just give my opinion. I do appreciate everybody that has this opportunity to serve Peters Township. So I've been here for 17 years, and I'd like to be here for a lot longer. And last but not least, when the property behind my house was rezoned, I never got anything in the mail. But for this one, I got a full-fledged Keller ad. I do appreciate that. And maybe if I'd have known that they were rezoning my backyard, I would have been at that hearing also. Thank you, and thanks for giving me the opportunity.
No problem.
You bet.
Sir?
Good evening. I'm Grant Miller. I'm here on behalf of Miranda Homes, and I just have a few statements for the record tonight. Number one, Miranda Homes LLC has a legal interest in this property. This property is currently in the mixed residential overlay district, which the township proposes to remove as a classification. Two, we had a township required pre-application meeting with the township staff in February of 2026 to present our project. Our proposed project is a valid use under the current mixed residential overlay district. Three, after presenting our project to the township administration, the township proposed the removal of the mixed residential overlay district zoning classification the following month, which will prevent our project from moving forward. Four, we object to remove of the mixed residential overlay district. That's all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm Jody Lesnikowski. I'm associate broker with Berkshire Hathaway. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Bakioki as he is out of state getting medical treatment and taking care of his elderly parents. So he could not be here this evening, so he has sent me on his behalf. And I want you to understand that this may not be my personal opinion, what I'm about to say here, but I do have a fiduciary responsibility to my client. So thank you tonight for allowing me to speak on behalf of my client. He owns the Sugar Camp parcel in question. His property currently carries the mixed-use designation. It was a result of the last comprehensive plan. That zoning has governed this parcel for years, and the zoning that my client relied upon when he entered into a fully executed contract with a reputable home builder to develop a townhouse community. This developer has already submitted its pre-application materials under the mixed-use zoning that was in effect at the time of filing. And you've seen this exact sequence before with other applications in this township, namely the Woodbriar community, which is directly behind me, which I did fight against myself. But because pre-application was already in that instance, we lost our battle there. So the commission and the township at that time respected the zoning that was on the books when the pre-application was accepted, and that is a fair and consistent way to administer the ordinance. And we conceded that fight with that existing Pennsylvania law, the homeowners around that at that time. My client and Miranda Homes is simply asking that the same rule be applied here. My client and the developer have followed every established step in good faith, as similar townhouse communities already exist nearby. So this would be consistent with the area in question. Moreover, this natural creek that runs through the 8-acre parcel, this topographical feature, it naturally buffers the site and preserves its rural character and appeal even with townhouses. The project will be designed to respect the creek and minimize visual and environmental impacts and maintain the area's overall aesthetic, exactly the kind of thoughtful, context-sensitive development the mixed-use district supports. And I want to interject here that we did have offers from other companies who wanted to put apartment buildings in previous to this, that we would be in council trying to get that approved, and the homeowner rejected that because he thought townhouses was a better, easier thing to get passed through township, et cetera. So we did have other parties interested in putting apartment buildings there, and the homeowner said no to that. So he did think about the townhouses and everything whenever it was all said and done. Unfortunately, the townhouse people got the highest bid, and I have a feeling that the people who did lose the bid are part of this reason behind this zoning change. Changing the single parcel to low density residential would not be a routine map amendment. It would be a classic spot zoning, singling out one owner for different treatment than other nearby properties that will still remain townhouse communities. There are townhouse communities all along Sugar Camp. This will provide badly needed housing options for young families, single-parent households, and first-time homebuyers in Peters Township, because that is a difficult thing as you see everything that's coming through your desk these days, 1 million plus. If this spot zoning is approved, my client will lose a significant portion of equity that has already been negotiated in the sale, because other offers were not, when it was single family, for reasons of development that you all can understand and how many parcels they can sell off, the townhouses was the most financially prudent. Well, actually the apartments was, but he did not want that. So it is a direct, devastating financial hit to somebody who's ill and ready to retire. He's invested significant time and money, as has the developer, and we have all played by the rules. My client has played by the rules, and they're asking that the township does the same. While the township is in process of updating its comprehensive plan and actively working to repeal aspects of this prior plan, that process has not been completed. And until a new comprehensive plan is adopted, the current zoning map and ordinance remain in full force. Changing the rules midstream for this one property after substantial reliance by my client and the developer would be arbitrary and unfair. It would undermine the very predictability that responsible planning requires and exposes my client to several severe financial loss, and other interested parties will not be willing to negotiate the same deal with different zoning classifications. Approving this spot rezoning would send the wrong message to every property owner in Peters Township that good faith reliance on existing zoning can be overridden at any moment by a targeted amendment. That is not sound land use policy and is inconsistent with how Pennsylvania courts view unjustified differential treatment of similar properties. Tonight you have the chance to uphold consistency, fairness, and respect for the established process. I respectfully urge you to reject the proposed rezoning and maintain the current mixed-use designation so this appropriate townhouse project can proceed under the same rules applied to every other similar application that I currently am living under the misery of behind me now. So thank you for your time and your service. I really appreciate your service because it's a lot to commit to this monthly meeting. And I'm happy to answer any questions you should have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Nicole Lynch.
Could you please get in the microphone, please, so we can hear you?
I'm Nicole Lynch, and I also live on Sugar Camp, and I have the property that is directly adjoining this 116, if I can show you where I am. So the property in question here is a very long, narrow piece of property. My property is right here. I would like to see this be rezoned as low density so that regular single-family homes would go in there, which would be consistent with the rest of the neighborhood. If this becomes townhouses, my fear is, according to what I saw from the February council meeting that was proposed by Miranda, and maybe he could say something different, the road would come down along here. So the road would go right against my property line and would jet out right where Edgar Lane jets out. My driveway is right here. So I'm not sure how I would exit my house safely. In addition to that, with all of these units coming in, then there's townhouse units here, all of these units here. If you take averages of, let's just say these were townhouses and there were 30 of them, the average is 1.5 cars per townhouse unit. We could have a good 44, 45 cars coming through here. I'm not really sure how many lots there are here. Mark,
Around
Mike?
60 or so.
60. The average for a single-family home is 2.28 or something like that, 2.8 cars per household. So you have another 150 cars here, you have another 100 cars here, not to mention the townhouses that come off of Brookwood. The amount of traffic that is on Sugar Camp Road right now is ridiculous. It is basically a mini highway. And I know this because when I'm out doing yard work, I'm watching cars fly by. And it is supposed to be a 35-mile-an-hour road. No one travels 35 miles an hour. So between the traffic between here, here, and here, if we're adding another, even if we say 300 cars, which would be way low, and each one of those people exits their house twice, that's 600 more times someone is traveling in front of my property. And we know that people exit and enter more than that. They drop kids off from school, they pick their kids up from school, they drop them off at activities, they pick them up at activities, they go to the grocery store. So if those 300 cars are coming out 4 or 5 or 6 times a day, that's 1,000 plus more times in front of my property. In addition to the fact that if this becomes townhouses, now we have a parking lot that's going to need lighting to make it safe for people to get to their cars and their front doors, which means I'm gonna have parking lot lighting shining into my house, which I'm also not happy about. The reason we moved to Peters Township 20 years ago was for the small town aspect of what Peters Township was. And to make some sort of comparison, it was almost like a little Mayberry, where we could safely raise our kids, let them play in our yards. We knew everybody. It was a safe community. The more building that we keep bringing in, the more traffic that I don't think our roads and our infrastructure can handle. So I wasn't expecting to speak tonight, so I didn't really get my bearings on what I wanted to say, but there has to come to an end. I mean, every square inch of Peters cannot be developed, and especially Sugar Camp. It has seen so much development over the past few years. And like Mr. Long said, I didn't get any notice about the plan that was coming in from behind us. So it's all fine, and they're normal single-family homes which blend with the area. But to have an apartment complex or townhouses there, I don't think blends with what our community should be. And to answer the $1 million home issue, not every house in Peters is $1 million. My house was not $1 million. All of these, Greg Long's house was not $1 million.
All of these homes through here are not $1 million. We need to stay with what our community was built on. So, that being said, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a new commenter there in the back. Sir, your
Hi.
name and address?
My name's Glenn Chaser. I live right here. Right here. And when I bought that house, I came to council because it kind of showed a dotted line about Marie Drive extension. And I said, well, if it's a road, why don't you come pave it? And they said, no, that property was turned over to the property owners. Me and Gary, we split it and we both gravelled it. So you can't put townhouses, there's no way you put townhouses between two neighborhoods. How'd you like somebody to put a townhouse and be in your backyard? That's stupid. I don't mean to call you stupid, but I'm sorry. But Marie Extension we own it. You don't own it. That's no access to Bakioki's property. And that, the council here told me that. So I hope you stand by, it was 50 years ago.
I wasn't there.
I know, none of you guys were here, but I was. So that's my opinion. It's not a road, it's private property, it's not access to Bakioki's property. And you guys, I've lived there. That floods every year. I mean, it floods. It's bad. The bottom of the whole back end, and I don't know how possibly they could build anything on this section here. It's steep. It drops right off. So that's my opinion. Marie Drive, I own it, not the property.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
I think this gentleman here had to stand up first. Any other public comments before we do the second round of comments? 1 second, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay. Grant Miller again, with Miranda. I'm unsure how anyone has seen any of our preliminary plans. They haven't been available publicly. So some of the comments may or may not be addressed, whatever their concern is. I can't say at the time. Maybe I could speak on it later, but I just wanted to point that out for the record. Thanks.
Yeah, the preliminary, whatever plan you have is not in front of us tonight. There's no townhome development in front of us tonight.
No.
This is a rezoning question.
Yes.
A townhome, I think, has been discussed as illustrative of one of the permittable uses, if I'm correct, Mark, that would be allowed currently in the MR overlay zoning. Not necessarily that there's a development. You identified that there was a development, at least a preliminary application here
Yes,
for one.
we did meet with the developer at 2 months ago, I would say, and they had shown townhomes.
Understood.
Yeah, but it's not publicly available. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So unsure how she's seen that drawing.
I think it was just it was just an assumption. It was more of a general narrative, not that she saw something specific.
There was a plan at the last committee.
There is a.
Can you please come up, please?
There was,
Into the microphone. I want to make sure everybody's hearing.
there was a YouTube video of a council meeting that was in February. And again, I would have come with the dates had I planned on speaking, but I wasn't planning on speaking. But in there was something about whether or not Miranda wanted to waive the connection from the Brookwood plan. Apparently, in its initial concept, was supposed to connect to Marie Drive.
The question was actually, yes, exactly what you're saying. The question to council from the manager was, should we connect Piedmont Drive all the way across the property to Marie Drive?
And
I
then,
think that's what got this discussion.
and
But
then
that's not-
Miranda was
nothing's
asking
happened.
if,
Nothing's there. That hasn't proceeded.
Correct.
Right, there's nothing there, right?
The only thing that proceeded was they said, we should rezone this parcel.
Correct, okay, yes.
so at that, the only reason I know about it, just to answer your question, was because of that. And I guess Miranda came in and asked if, instead of connecting to Marie Drive, if maybe Brookwood could connect to the road that Miranda is going to build and come out then onto Sugar Camp. And it was my understanding at that council meeting that it was decided, at least, or maybe I misunderstood, that Brookwood's responsibility was to connect to Marie Drive, and that they were not going to allow the connection into this townhouse area. It was on that YouTube council meeting thing that I viewed that gave a snapshot of a sort of preliminary plan of townhouses, to answer your question. That's how I knew. So it wasn't like I was digging on the internet. I just saw that from the last meeting. But the only other thing that I wanted to say was, at one point in time, we looked into buying this parcel of land. It's my understanding, and maybe you would know better, but there is an easement that goes directly through that property as well.
This is a zoning question, not a development question, so
Right.
easements and access,
I'm sorry, I missed the whole thing about the
it's,
easement.
it's not relative to the zoning discussion, in my opinion.
Okay, because I was just asking if there was an easement that went directly through that property. So I was wondering, because I looked into buying that property at one point, and it was like two halves. And right in the middle
There
was
might be a
an
sewer
easement.
line easement that runs along the creek.
So I didn't know if that had anything to do with whether or not that could be developed into townhouses. That was my question.
The feasibility of development is one aspect that's not before us tonight. We're simply looking at zoning here this evening.
Okay, that was all.
Sir?
All right. My name's Carson again, and Abbey Brook Lane. Can I go over to the map?
Yeah, by all means.
So, if I recall correctly, this it kind of loops down there, yeah. So, in my personal opinion, I think that it's I don't know, talking about sight lines, it's kind of hard there when you're coming down the hill, and then, and yeah, to have something there, I know it's not really what you're talking about, but I'm just letting you know, from my opinion, that it would be tough to have something coming up there with already all of the traffic. So that's my only comment.
Thank you, Carson. Any other public comments on this matter? Yes, sir. Gentleman in the back.
My name's Gary Fournier. I live at 106 Marie Drive at the, right over here, right across the street from Glen. I am right here. And we've just gone through this with Marie Drive for the longest thing. We've been told it's a paper road. We've been told it's ours. We've been told it's a township property that would never be developed. And I just live in a house, it's all single-family homes around us, and I just think it'd be nice to maintain the integrity of the neighborhood like that. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to clarify one other point here. If you'll notice, all of the commentary is related to this singular property. Nobody's commenting over here. And this is why I think that this is a spot zone, because this property has been chosen not to be built on for topographical reasons. There's a lot of challenges with that lot. And therefore, it is my opinion as a professional in the real estate industry that that parcel is not developable. It's just, people don't want that lot. Everybody's upset about this one because they know they can actually put things there. So we're including these two lots, so how is this not spot zoning? Because that one's topographically very challenged.
Again, we're not talking about development in
But,
terms of
like,
feasibility.
you're
We're
including
talking
it with
about
another
the
parcel that-
rezoning of these particular
So
parcels.
it doesn't look like spot zoning, but it's two parcels, and one of which really can't.
If you would like to speak further, I'm going to ask you to come back up.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we're not going to make any legal thoughts here, make a discussion on legal
If I
matters.
might, again, Weaver, Daniel, is this not at the entry to Peterswoods Park? This property
Peterswood Park is right here off of Meredith.
off of Meredith. So we currently have a unit going up here, and this is in the front area, the 12 acres from the Frobe estate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is part of the Frobe property, and so are
Property.
these two as well.
Okay. So that's a steep hill, so. Thank you, that's all.
Any other comments, commentary on this matter before we have discussion? Hearing none, any commissioner discussion on this matter?
I'll make a motion.
By all means.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval to rezone parcels 540-002-00-000-009 and 540-002-30-00-0050 from mixed residential overlay to low-density residential.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That brings us to item D, staff update.
The only thing I'll note, we had a steering committee meeting for the Peters Township Comprehensive Plan last night. We reviewed the first draft of the comprehensive plan. Our next step is to actually go to council with that and give a presentation to council, the draft comprehensive plan, and then we're looking to have a second open house sometime in May. We're targeting May 13th as that date, so stay tuned on that.
May 13th, open house for the Peters Township Comprehensive Plan
And it'll be at the high school.
at the high school. Let's shout it from the hills so that folks come in here in 5 years from now can look back and say, I had an opportunity to discuss a comprehensive plan. That's the initiation of what the township will look like in the future.
Will
And I would say-
will notification go out?
We're debating how to best notify people. We even talked about doing direct mailings. So we'll see how we figure that out.
How did we do it the last time?
Not by social media, right?
Well, that was,
Oh, you mean last time? Because we did one open house earlier, which we got pretty good.
no, but the
turnout.
current comprehensive plan that we have, what was that, 10 years ago?
13 years ago.
Okay.
I'm not sure how we did these.
Okay.
It varied.
And I'm just saying, just as a member of that committee, the committees have met over 9 times, I believe, over the last 12 months. A lot of, everybody might not agree with everything, but a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth, a lot of thought and process put into that. And so we would encourage people to come and listen to what the concept is and what the planned future is for the community. We took into account a lot of what, the public comments were, while also trying to ensure that we could meet all the requirements, that you have to meet in any type of plan. And just to make sure everybody understands that this is the first step in a process, is to provide the comprehensive plan, and then we move to changing maps and zoning and making sure that that the land development plans meet with all of this comprehensive. So this is a general plan as far as what we see how the township moving forward for hopefully the next 10 years or so. Not everything in there is something that's in stone. It's just supposed to outline different concepts, ideas, and thought processes for how we can improve the township.
And thank you for your time on that.
Oh, yes, and there was a lot of effort, a lot of people on from different representatives we spoke to, or I didn't personally, but spoke to, farmers, spoke to developers, spoke to residents. We had residents on the committee. We had myself from Planning Commission. We had somebody from the school board. We had people from
Zoning hearing
council.
board.
We had business people on there. So we had a wide variety, and just residents as well, wide variety of individuals putting their time and effort. And then we had a really good, I can't remember what their names are. HRG, who put a lot of time and effort and work into preparing for us each time we met. So we encourage as much participation as possible.
Anything else, Mark?
Nope, I don't think I have anything
Anything
else.
else from the commissioners? Thank you. Meeting adjourned.